Cats don't cry, they just endure. This is a story that is impossible to read without tears. It is a story of silent suffering, of a bond tested by an invisible enemy, and a stark reminder that our greatest failures as caregivers often stem not from malice, but from unawareness. Tom, a handsome ginger tabby, knew the harshness of the streets before he knew the comfort of a home. Rescued as a shivering, starving kitten, he was brought into a world of warm laps, full bowls, and gentle hands. For years, he repaid this kindness with a rumbling purr, headbutts of affection, and the serene companionship only a cat can offer. He believed his trials were over, but fate had a more cunning adversary in store. This time, the enemy was not the cold street or hunger. It was a slow, insidious disease that had been brewing in the shadows of his very body. His humans loved him deeply, but they loved him blindly. They missed the silent, incremental steps of his decline, mistaking small changes for quirks of age or temperament. The tragedy of Tom is not one of sudden catastrophe, but of a slow-motion disaster whose warning signs were written in a language they did not know how to read. The silent cry for help. The most terrifying moment arrived not with a wail or a crash, but with a profound, deafening quiet. Tom, the once lavish and social creature, retreated. He left his favorite sunspot on the windowsill and sought out a dark corner. There, he lay down, curled tightly, and turned his face to the wall. He did not meow, he did not come when called, he offered no complaint. He was simply retreating into himself, patiently enduring an unbearable pain he could no longer externalize. This posture, the averted gaze, the hunched resignation, is not mere sulking. It is an ancient, instinctual behavior. In the wild, a sick animal hides to avoid attracting predators and to spare the group. For a domesticated soul like Tom, it was a silent scream. He was preparing for the worst, striving with every fiber of his being not to be a burden to the humans he loved. It was a gesture of ultimate, heartbreaking stoicism. Fortunately, in this final, desperate act of withdrawal, his message was finally received. The alarm was raised. A frantic trip to the veterinary clinic, a series of scans and tests, and the devastating diagnosis landed like a physical blow: feline lower urinary tract disease, or FLUTD, with a severe urethral obstruction caused by struvite stones. His kidneys were under critical stress. The prognosis was guarded. The word euthanasia hung in the sterile air, unspoken but palpable. The bitter truth, a preventable tragedy. The most agonizing part of the diagnosis was the realization that this nightmare could have been prevented. Tom's disease was not a bolt from the blue. It was constructed, brick by brick, over years, through simple, well-intentioned, yet ultimately fatal mistakes. As Tom's vet and the author of his ongoing case file would emphasize, 4 key factors conspired against him. The poison in the bowl, cheap food. Out of economy and ignorance, Tom was fed a diet of low-quality, mass-produced kibble. Its primary ingredients were cheap grains, corn, wheat, and soy, loaded with excessive minerals like phosphorus and magnesium. It was also high in salts to induce thirst. This dietary formula is a perfect recipe for urinary crystal formation. Well-meaning treats of fatty fish, milk, which adult cats cannot properly digest, and salty scraps from the table like ham or sausage only accelerated the metabolic imbalance, turning his bladder into a chemical time bomb. The water of life denied. Cats have a low thirst drive, a legacy of their desert-dwelling ancestors. Tom's water was often tap water, rich in hardening minerals like calcium and lime. The bowl was a single, small vessel placed next to his food, a location instinct tells cats to avoid, as in nature a carcass would contaminate a water source. He drank little and reluctantly. Without multiple wide bowls of fresh, filtered water placed strategically around the house, or better yet, a circulating fountain that mimics running water, his urine became highly concentrated, a supersaturated solution where crystals could easily form and coalesce into stones. The sedentary sentence. Love was expressed through food. Tom grew plump, then outright obese. His world shrank to the distance between the couch, the bowl, and the litter box. The playful chases after feather wands, the frantic dashes after laser dots, the aerobic leaps for toy mice, all became memories. This lack of movement slowed his metabolism to a crawl, made him drink even less, and contributed to a cycle of weight gain and urinary stagnation. Exercise is not a luxury for a cat. It is a vital pillar of physiological and mental health. The last indignity, the litter box. The litter box, his private sanctuary, became a site of subconscious distress. Sometimes it was cleaned infrequently, its odor offensive to his sensitive nose. Other times, it was placed in a noisy, high-traffic area, like next to the washing machine. This made him hesitant to use it. A cat holding its urine is a cat allowing minerals in the bladder more time to crystallize. What began as minor inconvenience ended as a critical medical factor. Why we discover the truth too late. Tom's story is tragically common because cats are masters of disguise. They are engineered by evolution to hide weakness. As one veterinary behaviorist starkly put it, cats do not cry. They do not whimper like dogs or complain like humans. They simply endure for as long as their bodies will allow them. A slight decrease in activity, a barely perceptible change in litter box habits, a subtly altered posture, these are their cries for help. By the time the symptoms become unmistakable to an untrained eye, lethargy, vocalizing in the litter box, visible straining, or complete anorexia, the disease has often reached a critical or chronic stage. The stone that brings them to the emergency room did not form overnight. It was sculpted over months or years of silent systemic failure. Tom's present, a battle in the balance. Today, Tom lies in a veterinary ICU cage. An IV line is taped to his foreleg, delivering fluids to flush his system, painkillers to dull the agony, and medications to relax his obstructed passage. The immediate crisis, the physical blockage, has been relieved, but the damage runs deep. The stone, that concrete manifestation of years of dietary and environmental neglect, has done its work. It caused back pressure on his kidneys, leading to a dangerous condition called post-renal azotemia. The blood work numbers that measure kidney function are horrifyingly high. Despite aggressive treatment, they are slow to improve. The vet speaks in cautious, measured tones about possible irreversible damage, managed care, and a new normal. Tom's future is no longer a guarantee of sunbeams and carefree naps. It is a landscape of prescription diets, constant water encouragement, regular vet checks, and the haunting knowledge that his resilience was tested to its absolute limit by a tragedy that did not have to be. His story is a plea wrapped in a warning. Look at your feline companion not just with love, but with educated, vigilant eyes. Listen to their silence. Understand that their endurance is not an invitation to complacency, but their deepest, most vulnerable trait. For in their quiet tolerance, they trust us to be their voice, their advocate, and their protector, long before they feel the need to turn their face to the wall.